Every single day, each of us swallows about a liter of saliva. What's shocking is what's in your saliva today could kill you. Our saliva is filled with all sorts of enzymes, inflammatory mediators, and over 200 types of bacteria. And as I got through that mouthful of an opening, I think all of you probably just swallowed some. Saliva science has exploded in recent years, and it is now irrefutable. Our mouths are a gateway to so many of the chronic inflammatory diseases that we've been talking about here today. So let's just touch on inflammation just for a minute, because inflammation is actually quite simple. It's our body's natural response to a foreign invader like a virus, a toxin, or bacteria. Normally, inflammation is a lifesaver. But when these viruses, toxins, bacteria continue to invade our bodies, chronic inflammation develops. Chronic inflammation doesn't heal, it hurts. Chronic inflammation actually wrecks our health, and it's a silent killer. And what most people don't realize is that chronic inflammation and many of the diseases and health problems associated with it start in the mouth. And with the latest in saliva science and research, we have now identified those bacteria that contribute to those diseases we so fear. Our mouths are not just for smiling and eating and drinking. Our mouths are mirrors that reflect our body's overall health. Let me tell you how this works though, because when we start out as babies, our mouths are really healthy. But as our teeth come in and we're eating and drinking, these bacteria come in. And those bacteria love to attach to the biofilms on our teeth. And in the early days, we have lots of healthy bacteria and some bad bacteria. But as we age, oral disease almost always accelerates. And left unchecked, those bad bacteria take over and win. And those bad bacteria, here's the dangerous part, don't just stay in our mouths. They spread throughout our entire bodies in many different ways. And one of the big ways is with the saliva we swallow. And as those bacteria enter our guts and go through our bodies, those bacteria fuel these diseases we're talking about that we're all so scared of, like cardiovascular disease, brain disease, lung disease, diabetes, and all sorts of types of cancers. Let me ask you a question. Of the 10 leading causes of death in America, what percent do you think are associated with those bad oral bacteria? What do you think? Take a guess. 40? What do you think? Most of them, you're about right. It's actually 80%. In 8 of the 10 leading causes of death in America, these bad oral bacteria are either associated or proven to be causal to those diseases. The reality is today, we cannot be healthy without good oral health. And your dentist can literally change your life. Now, how did I get here? I'm not a physician, I'm not a dentist, I'm not a scientist. A lot of smart people talking here today. I'm an entrepreneur. 36 years ago, my father asked me to install a computer system into his dental office. This is the day of the old IBM PCs, dial-up modems. I still hear the screeching of those dial-up modems. Some of you may remember that. But what I noticed when I was in there helping him was he and his colleagues, how much time they had to spend on the business side of their practices, taking away from their patient care. And so I set out to create a company to solve that problem, providing those business systems so dentists could do what they loved, focus on patient care. The company's grown quite a bit since then. We're about 17,000 people now, dedicated, hardworking people providing the latest science and all the latest technologies, and we'll do over $3 billion in medical and dental care this year. But it wasn't the business that got me so excited and obsessed with saliva and saliva science. It was actually my mom. 2006, I was having lunch with my mom, and she had just come back from the cardiologist. And she was telling me about how great her visit was because the cardiologist told her heart was healthy, she was doing great. She had all the standard studies. Her CAC score was a 0, no calcification. She was super excited. Doc said she'd probably live to be 100 because we were about to celebrate her mom's 100th birthday. and she looked great. 2 weeks later, my mom died of a massive heart attack at just 65 years old. And obviously I was devastated. But that started me on a journey to try to understand what happened and why. And I started reading everything I could about cardiovascular disease and heart disease. And what surprised me, and what came up over and over in all my studies and my journey, was the connection to oral health and saliva. So I learned, just like Whoop can tell you about your sleep or maybe your workout, I learned that saliva can tell us so much about our oral health. I learned that a little bit of saliva, just this little bit, if I spit in here and we run it through a tube, we can tell you if oral disease is active in your mouth. We can tell you if you are susceptible to chronic inflammation, and how susceptible actually. And we can tell you the levels of the bad bacteria you might have in your mouth that contribute, have now been proven to be causal to atherosclerosis. Just a little bit of saliva. Many are saying saliva is the new blood. Saliva can tell us so much now about our overall health. It's like a dashboard. And we can now get health markers in our saliva that we couldn't get before. Thousands of studies have been released in the last few years around the connection between saliva and our overall health. Thousands. And just as I was preparing for this, a couple big ones came out. One showed that the bacteria, bad bacteria in our mouth, cause a 3-fold increased risk of pancreatic cancer, one of the most deadly cancers. And we're now using saliva for early detection of breast cancer. I think that one is really cool. There was another one released about the direct correlation between these oral bacteria and Parkinson's disease. I mean, we're talking major diseases here. So why is all this so important? Because your dentist has been the unsung hero of your primary care healthcare team for far too long. We all visit the dentist way more often than we do our primary care providers, right? So dentists are uniquely set up to be that point person and that steward for your overall health. I mean, what if next time you went to your dentist, they weren't just cleaning your teeth, but they were actually helping to detect some of these deadly diseases before they started to spread? That is what's happening all across the United States and the world, and dentists are now being recognized for their contribution to longevity. And this isn't just some theoretical experiment. It's really happening now. No serious clinician disputes the oral systemic connection anymore. That is the revolution that is happening all around the world. I hope you will never think about your mouth, your saliva, your dentist the same way ever again. I sure don't. 10 years ago, I got my saliva tested, and I found out I was highly susceptible to chronic inflammatory disease. And I didn't know it. So now I visit the dentist regularly, get tested regularly to keep my bad oral bacteria at bay. And I do it for my mom. You know, had we known what we know now about oral bacteria, because she always struggled with poor oral health, I know I could have helped her extend her life. So, all of you, go get your saliva tested. And if your dentist isn't doing it yet, find a dentist who does, because health starts in the mouth. And what you don't know about what's in yours could kill you. Thank you.